What's up, everybody? Lance Moore here, obviously former Saints wide receiver and new Boot Crew media member. Excited, super excited, to say the least, about what I'm doing with the company. Today is the first of many of our Q&A sessions, and we've got a special treat for you today. But before we do that, a little business to take care of. This program is brought to you by Scott McNair Injury Lawyers. Have you been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, or hurt offshore? Scott McNair handles it all. Give them a call, y'all, at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. Yes, free consultation. They always fight for the win. But so excited to be here and to talk to one of my really, really good friends, and obviously somebody that we all know and love and cherish a ton, somebody that means more to a lot of us than just what he did on the field. We've got none other than Drew Brees here to come in and to answer some questions. We're going to have a little conversation, but Drew, man, thank you a lot for coming first and foremost. But how's everything going? I see the setup. I mean, you're making my setup look kind of bad. I see the Lombardi, you can't even see my Lombardi in my picture. But how's it going, man? How's it going? Good morning.
Yeah, it's all about the backdrop. You know what I'm saying, Lance? I'm just wondering how many touchdown catches did you catch in that jersey that's sitting behind you? That's what I want to know, huh?
Well, that's the Super Bowl jersey, so I didn't catch any touchdowns. I did catch a,
but I know what we did catch though. The critical 2-point conversion. There was a terrible throw by me, by the way, and an unbelievable catch by you. No, everything's great. Just as you know, raising kids. This is a fun time. And kids involved in all kinds of activities. In fact, this last weekend was 7-on-7 for the boys, baseball for the boys, lacrosse for the boys, and then gymnastics for my daughter. So it was an eventful weekend, but I would not want it any other way. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've only got 2 that are in multiple activities so far, and my son is only doing the little gymnastics thing where it's basically we pay for an hour of daycare in there. So I totally get it. And it's to me, it's what it's all about. And that kind of like leads me into a question, like how's life and really how is for you life after football kind of been, in your transition?
It's been interesting. You dedicate your life to being the very best that you could be at your craft, right? For so long. And I mean, for me, I retired at age 42 and basically played 28 years of football, so 2/3 of my life, 4 years in high school, 4 years in college, 20 years in the NFL. 2/3 of my life was dedicated to, like, every decision that you make had everything to do with, well, does this position me to be the best that I could be at my job or with my team, or, you just, that is your focus. And all of a sudden when that's gone, I get it. I get why guys, I think, get into retirement and there's a bit of a struggle. There's things that you just cannot replace from the game, right? You can't replace the locker room, right? The bond that you have with your team, the things that you go through together. And we were very fortunate, right, to play for a really great organization, but to be in a situation where we were with each other for a really long time, right? Like I look to, specifically that receiving core with you and Marcus and Meach and Devery, right? Like we were together for 7-8 years straight, right? Yep. I mean, that's unheard of in this day and age, right? But you build those bonds and you feel like you just grow up together. And so it's hard to replace that. That was just such an unbelievable time for all of us in our lives. And then obviously game day, working so hard for that game day experience, right? And running out of the tunnel and just feeling like you're invincible and, going out to do something that maybe has never been done before. So hard to replace that feeling. And yet you try to channel that in other ways. And so I don't know. I've certainly kept myself busy with a lot of things, but miss the game, miss my team, and still holding on to a lot of those memories.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think it's funny because the more, obviously I'm a little younger than you, but I've been out longer than you, so I've had a little more time to kind of try to figure out what it is. And here I am. I'm going into year 8. And I think I've finally figured it out, what I'm going to be doing long term. But people ask me all the time, like, how is retirement, or what is next, and all these questions. They don't ever stop, because you're known mostly for what you were able to do on the field, right? And then it's like, after that, people want to know what's going to be coming next. And Sean used to always say, like, you're going to miss these moments when you retire, and like, when you're in it, you don't fully understand it. You listen, and
Yeah.
obviously you're like me, you respect Sean, and he's been around the block a few times, so you're like, yeah, okay, like, that sounds, makes sense, but you don't truly fully understand what he means by that until you're out for a while, even. I mean,
Yeah.
I try to do all kinds of competitive, try to get a little bit of that out of my system, just because it's like, it's been in me, and it's been in you since you were a kid, right? Little league, any kind of sport started the thirst, or that want for competition. And once you make it to the peak of competition, right? We played in the NFL, we played for a long time. Nothing else after that can surpass it. So you're trying just to get a little glimpse of competition, or something to kind of bring you back. And I mean, it get like, just talking about it gives me energy. Like, I've got a basketball game tonight where I'm like, okay, like, we got to go take care of business. And like, I have a group chat with my team, and we're talking game plan, and how are we going to defend, and like, who's going to do what. Like, so like, those little things, like, it never really leaves. Like, you might leave the NFL, or you might leave a specific sport, but the competitor is going to remain in you. It's just about trying to figure out, how do you get it out. It's, to me, is important. And I've seen that you are a big pickleball guy. My wife and I kind of go and play some unofficial pickleball from time to time, like maybe once or twice a month. We get out there, and of course, I'm kicking her butt. I'm not ever going to take it easy on her, because why are we out there if we're not trying to win? Like, that's my mentality. So, what are your thoughts on pickleball, and kind of how the sport has grown, and where are you thinking about, taking yourself in that direction?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anything sports related, I love, especially like ball and racket sports. I mean, I did that a lot as a kid as well. And pickleball, ironically, I feel like I started really playing it again during COVID. We actually had one, fortunately, in our backyard, which was nice. But literally at the end of every day during COVID, my wife and I would go out, and we would just hit the ball around. And it was simply just like an outlet for
Yep.
us, because here we are, 4 kids at home, homeschooling. They're driving you nuts, right? You're wondering what's happening to the world, and you just go out there and watch the sun go down as you're just kind of hitting the ball around. It was just our opportunity just to connect and reflect on the day, and just kind of talk through anything that happened. And like, that was, I actually, those are some of my best memories from COVID, were just doing that with my wife. And never did I think that would, I mean, I knew, hey, I'd be a fan of the game, I'd be playing the game. But it was actually about a year ago that, there was all this speculation about, what I was going to do, because I took that NBC job right after I finished playing, which was a great experience. But bottom line is, it was taking up all my weekends, and I wanted to spend more time with my family, my kids, and coaching. Didn't want to miss any games. And so, but there was all this speculation as to what I was going to do in the fall of 2022 with my broadcasting career, et cetera, et cetera. And I felt like I just needed to set the record straight, because I had a bunch of people talking for me that had no idea what was going on. So I threw out the social media post, hey, I haven't decided what I'll do in the fall. I'll let you know. I may broadcast. I may try to make a comeback in the NFL. I may become a professional pickleball player. I don't know. Like, I'll let you know. And obviously that was very tongue in cheek, right? I was just having some fun. But that seemed to kind of like set the pickleball world ablaze, because all of a sudden I just started getting like flood of incoming calls, like, oh, you like pickleball? Like, would you really want to be involved? This and that. And the MLP, which is Major League Pickleball, one of the professional pickleball leagues, reached out and said, hey, we're a new league. We're expanding, though. We'd love for you to be a part of this if you're interested. And so next thing I know, I'm an owner in a professional pickleball team with Major League Pickleball. Our team is called the Los Angeles Mad Drops. Yeah, you heard that right. Mad Drops Pickleball Club. And so all of a sudden now I'm part of this, professional sports team where we draft our players. So we had a draft back in December. We ended up winning the first championship, the first event of the year, which was January in Mesa, Arizona. We've got the third one coming up here in San Clemente. We got to get you out to that, Lance, in June.
Okay.
So all of a sudden now I'm an owner in a pickleball club. Like, our team is really good. Like, we spent a lot of time deciphering who the best. I mean, I'm imagining like being in the war room, right? and,
Right.
and you're deciphering like, okay, who do we want on our team based on culture, based on like their skill set? Who's, it's mostly doubles. So who's going to play together? Who plays best from the right side? Who plays best from the left side? We're looking at their duper rating. Like, and there's a lot that went into it, but like, you talk about the juices flowing, right? Juices were flowing, because you feel like you're directly responsible for putting together this team, and like, your name is behind it, your reputation's behind it, right? And obviously you want to win, right? We don't get in anything unless we're trying to win and be the best. And obviously we were able to put together a pretty exceptional team, and we're in contention to win the whole thing. So that's been a lot of fun, not only just being able to play it, but all of a sudden through, one circumstance or another, I get a chance to be a team owner, and all the unique opportunities that have come as a result of that.
But so, okay, so pickleball team, what does that mean? You're an owner of a pickleball team. How many players are there? How active are they? Do they practice? How much are these people getting paid? Like, this is all brand new to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think you met my buddy Ryan Sherry a few times in the past year or so. He's a big, huge pickleball advocate. He's, plays with Gronk all the time. Golden Tate is out playing like regularly. He wants to be a pickleball pro. Like, talk to me about like what is a pickleball team? How often do they play? How often do they practice? They all live in the same place, or like, how does it work? Like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's still such a young sport, but growing like crazy, right? I mean, the statistics would say it's literally doubling in size every year in regards to the number of people that are playing, because it is a very easy sport just to pick up and play. It's a great amateur sport, but the pros in this sport, there's a few that we would all recognize as, hey, these are the best players in the world, right? Like Ben Johns, right? Tyson McGuffin, Julian Arnold. Like, there's some, and then on the women's side, Annalee Waters. Like, there's certain players that I think have become recognized as like the best players in the world. But overall, the sport is so young that there are still players that are making the transition from tennis to pickleball. So this time next year, there may be a whole new top 10 as far as who are the best players in the world, because they're not even playing pickleball yet, right? But they certainly have the skill set because, they've been playing tennis their whole life, and all of a sudden they make the transition, and very quickly they become one of the best in the world. So that's what's exciting about the sport. Our league specifically, Major League Pickleball, it's almost like Ryder Cup. Each team kind of puts together their team, which is made up of 2 women and 2 men. And basically a tournament consists of pool play, and then if you finish top 2 in your pool, you go into a bracket style tournament. But the way each match works is you'll play women's doubles, men's doubles, mixed doubles, and if it's tied, 3 games to 3 after that, then you go into this what we call a dream breaker tiebreaker, where you basically play singles, where we put out a player, you put out a player. It could be a woman versus a woman, it could be a woman versus a man. Like you don't know. You're just kind of putting somebody out. They put somebody out. They play 4 points against each other, and then you rotate, and you keep rotating. So there's this strategy as to who you're matching up against who, and this and that. But it's extremely exciting. It's an awesome spectator sport, both in person and on TV. It's a highly bettable sport, which, believe it or not, I mean, that drives a lot of TV programming. It drives a lot of spectatorship. So there's some really unique elements to the sport, and very exciting elements. Not many sports can you say women and men are literally playing right next to each other pretty equally, and so I think that part of it makes it really exciting too. So that's kind of the structure of our league, is that each team is made up of 4 people, 2 men, 2 women. We play 6 events this year. There's kind of this overall championship that's going to come as a result of that. And then we redraft every year. Now that may change at some point, but right now we literally redraft every year. So talk about like free agency, what I'm saying? Even though there is a draft structure and you're drafting in order, but pretty unique the way that it's been put together, and it's made it a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got the light bulb going off in my head. Like, I've always been an undrafted free agent, so maybe I need to get my pickleball game on so then I can say, you know what, I was drafted. It wasn't in the NFL, but I was drafted.
Right.
Well, anyways, man, like, I appreciate all the talk about what's going on now and the things that are moving you, but obviously we're here to talk some football.
Yeah.
So we're going to take our first question, and they're asking, what do you think about this year's draft class, the squad, DA's mentality? And the team this year, just in general. And this is a fan from the UK, and we know we've had some success over there in the UK. Shout out to the
Yeah.
fans over there.
That's right. Look, I think all the pieces are in place. I mean, the division is wide open, certainly. But at the same time, I think the Saints have always, we've built a level of expectation that goes beyond just, taking care of our division, and I'd say, everybody's probably been pretty disappointed with the last 2 years, and we've suffered through a lot, injuries and such. But I think coming into this year, the excitement around bringing in Derek Carr, look, I think he's a great fit for our system. I've always respected him as a player. Felt like he was in a really tough situation with the Raiders. Probably got a lot of the blame when he did not deserve it. So I think it's a fresh start for him. I think it's a great fit for him. And I think the city will embrace him as well. I think from a skill position perspective on offense, I'd say we're pretty loaded. And I think up front, we're really, really good with the offensive line. So, you always start there, your ability to control the line of scrimmage. But we got weapons. We got weapons. We got a guy to distribute it. So that should be fun to watch come together. Defensively, I'd say that was the part where, you lose a couple interior linemen in free agency. You lose an edge rusher. It looks like we made efforts to try to shore that up, through free agency to bring some guys in, and obviously first round pick, we draft a D lineman. So when you think about that, I think we're pretty solid at the linebacker position and in the secondary. But again, that's just, I started thinking about it. If I was the head coach, if I was, DA, going into this offseason, and you'll remember this, Lance, just, from some of our eras, right, with the Saints was, man, I felt like the best seasons we had were a result of highly, highly competitive off seasons. And I know the off season has changed quite a bit, in regards to how much time you're allowed to spend at the facility doing various things and, what you're accomplishing in the OTAs and that kind of thing. But man, once you get to training camp, like to me, that's all out war on the other side of the ball. Right. And especially when I think to 9, 10, and 11, 09, 2010 and 2011, like I approached every day trying to destroy our defense, and I think that they took the same approach, right? That was Vilma and Fujita and, Malcolm and Roman and all the guys on the other side of the ball that like, they had the same mentality towards us. Right. And so it was really like you were getting ready for a playoff game every day in practice. And so by the time we got to the season, I felt like, well, we're not going to face anything in the season that would be better than what we've been facing every day in training camp, And I think that's just a mentality, and that's really just you flipping the switch and saying, like, I'm approaching this each and every day as, iron sharpens iron, but like, I'm trying to kick your ass. Like every day I'm trying to win. Right. And in the process, you're going to make each other a heck of a lot better. And by the time you get to the season, look, you're going to be tired of beating up on each other, but you're also going to be ready. Not only are you going to be ready, you're going to really get a glimpse of what you can be as a team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it right there. Iron sharpens iron. And it is interesting. You talk about the offseason being different, the rules being different as far as how you can practice, and training camp is just completely different than how it was 10 years ago. So I guess it's an interesting kind of conundrum for DA to have with kind of the old school mentality, but with the new school rules, just trying to manufacture as much of that competition, friendly competition, within, the rules at the facility. But, obviously he's paid the big bucks for a reason. So he's going to be the one that's going to have to figure that out. How familiar are you with Jake Haener? Like, obviously, I'm sure you've heard some of the stories about him idolizing you and kind of modeling his game after you, changing his number to wear number 9 like you. First, how does that make you feel? And second, what do you think about the player?
Yeah, that was it's always humbling to hear that. But as I've been able to read up on him, and actually spent a little bit of time this offseason in March with him. Visited some QBs in Orange County, but I think you root for guys like that. Guys that bit of underdog stories, and then all of a sudden, they're in a position now to to really make an impact and to work in a great system with a great organization, and obviously with a seasoned veteran like Derek Carr as well. So I'm excited for that opportunity. And look, you never know how that shakes out. Bottom line is we know how this goes in the NFL, and we know how it's gone the last couple of seasons with the Saints. It's taken a couple quarterbacks, and each season, and obviously Taysom Hill plays a very unique role in our offense, different than probably any other system or any other player in the league or the history of the league for that matter, with what his skill set brings. But you always got to be ready, and I think the opportunity for him is probably about as good as you get. You get to be with a great organization around a great group of players, and with a seasoned veteran quarterback in front of you who will help you a lot.
Yeah, we spoke about him last night, and my answer to the question was, I think he's in a great position, but look back to the last couple of years, right? Us in 21, the 49ers last year. I mean, nobody thought that Brock Purdy was going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers. So
yeah.
He's coming into a good situation with minimal pressure to begin. The guys that are in that room are going to teach him how to be a pro. And he seems to have the right mentality to be able to take on whatever they give him. And if something happens, heaven forbid, that he has to go in there, I think he'll be well equipped. I'm not saying he's going to have a Brock Purdy type season. I mean, that was kind of unprecedented what Brock Purdy did, but I think it was a good draft choice for us, and a smart one for sure. We've got Hank here from Utah. He wants to know, what was your favorite play to call or to run?
I should flip this to you, Lance, because you know me well enough that you could probably, there's really like a top 3, but if you were to just throw out a couple plays that you think would be my favorites, like top 3.
Top 3.
What would you think?
I'll go special.
Absolutely. Like, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Is all go special. And so for the fan, all go. So when you say all go, that basically just means everybody's running vertical, right? Go routes. And then depending on, the formation, it might modify itself a little bit. So all go special was when you had 3 receivers to one side and then a receiver into the boundary. And so what that did was the inside most receiver, right, which we'd call the number 3 receiver on that side, he had the ability to run vertical, but he could run across the field depending on coverage, or he could split the middle of the field depending on coverage. And so that was the guy who was the first read. It kind of got the ball most of the time because he had flexibility. He could basically just run where the defenders weren't. But yes, all go special, because you need a big play. All go special.
Yep, all go special. So that's one.
Yeah.
Now, I've never heard this come from your mouth, but I always heard it come from Sean or CJ or even Pete that Flutie was one of your favorite plays. And I never heard you say it. So, I mean, we ran it a lot. So I would say Flutie was definitely one of them.
So Flutie for sure, top 3. And again, to describe to the fan, so the reason it was called Flutie is because I started my career in San Diego and Doug Flutie was the starting quarterback. And at some point we transitioned that offense to all code words. We would call all the routes by number to begin with, but when we wanted to go no huddle, we couldn't be yelling out a bunch of numbers, so we just made it code words. And this was Doug Flutie's favorite route, so we called it Flutie. And then it became one of my favorite routes because obviously we ran it a lot. But basically, it was always really 1 receiver into the boundary, 2 receivers to the field, and those receivers would run. The outside receiver would run a post, inside receiver would run a corner, and he could vary his angle based on coverage. And then the backside receiver would run this, what we call a deep end, or like a dig. And so that was what, I mean, we probably called that 5, 6, 8 times a game as well. So yes, that's 2. I'll give you one more guess to round out the top 3. It's gonna be pretty obvious once.
I mean, Q8 Speed Smash. I don't know.
So, well, Raider. So Sluggo Seam, which for whatever reason it kind of went by the wayside. Like it kind of went away. But man, I'm telling you, from 06 to like 11, I feel like we were just running Raider all the time. Now we nicknamed it Raider because the Oakland Raiders in the late 90s were just crushing people with this route. So again, we nicknamed it Raider when I was in San Diego and then brought it to New Orleans. But basically it was a slant and go into the boundary, and then the inside receiver to the field would run a seam, and then the outside receiver would just run like a little stop. We crushed people with that too. See, I immediately go to all the sluggos that you caught, Lance.
Mm-hmm.
I remember versus 2-man, Carolina, Captain Munnerlin's trying to cover you, no chance. We throw just a little high back shoulder on a sluggo, hit you on quite a few seams, up the seam, also bending it versus cover 2, back shoulders in the seam. We hit a lot of them. Kansas City versus quarters. You ran by somebody in quarters on a sluggo. Do you remember this?
That was 2008. That was 2008
at Kansas City. Yep. St. Louis,
Yep.
We played the St. Louis Rams at home in 2010, I believe. And you ran a sluggo, but do you remember this?
Single step.
Corner? Yes.
Yeah.
But you ran inside of the corner.
Yep.
The corner somehow like got flat-footed, and we would always say, no, you got to get back outside. But you slipped inside, and I don't know, it was like low safety, corner was super low, and you basically just like ran right through them.
Yep.
And I knew exactly what you were doing. It was never something that would be taught, right?
Right.
But it was just like that ESP thing we had going.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So
there's a lot, man.
We're talking about our younger days. Fans want to know what do you think about the young receivers, and I'll give my 2 cents real quick, just because I know we got a couple more questions. We'll get you out of here. Appreciate the time, of course. Look, I like the group. It starts with Michael Thomas for sure. Like without a doubt, it starts with him. How healthy is he going to be? How effective is he going to be able to be? And I think it's going to show in training camp, but really not really show until we get into week 1. Not preseason. I'm not really concerned about preseason. Week 1, can he move? Can he run? Is he going to be as physical or as strong as he's been in the past? I think it starts and goes from there. Right. Chris Olave, obviously runner-up for Rookie of the Year. We've seen all the great things that he was able to do last season. I think this is a huge offseason for him as far as getting a little more physically strong. The contested catches, I expect more run after the catch from him, not as much catching and falling down or catching and minimal contact and falling down. I think that's a thing that can take his game to the next level. Rashid Shaheed, I mean, a guy that had 0 expectations last year that just came out and balled, but now it's not going to be the same thing. There's going to be expectations on him this year. And how is he able to measure up when defenses are going to be keyed in on him? Hey, that we've got Shaheed out here. We got to make sure we roll the coverage. He's going to have to face some different defenses and game planning from which last year he wasn't getting anything from. Brian Edwards, a guy from the Raiders who's played with Derek Carr obviously before, so they're already going to have a connection coming in. I think he's a big physical guy that can make contested catches and plays downfield like he has in the past. A.T. Perry, I mean, a guy that we drafted, 6'4", long and lanky, hands catcher, could be a red zone target. But we in the media, I'm talking about myself, tend to forget about some of the other guys who are on the roster who have played a lot of football as well. Keith Kirkwood, Traquan Smith. I mean, guys that have not just played a lot of ball, but played in some pretty big games. So I think a position that, 2 years ago was probably one of our main weaknesses is probably one of the positions of strength. Now, obviously, Mike Thomas being healthy is important, but we've got some depth there and we've got some guys that can make some plays. And I expect this group to be an integral part, obviously, of what we're able to do offensively. But like you said, we've got weapons galore. And I think that the receivers are going to be great this year. What about you?
Look, I agree. I mean, just on the surface, like as I listen to you just talk about each one of those guys, I sit there and go, man, this is gonna be a tough cut, you know,
Yeah.
when it gets to kind of coming up with the final roster. But I also think, man, size and speed. Like we've got size and speed, and I feel like when this offense goes to another level is when you really have the ability to stretch the field,
Yep.
which we've had at times through our career. Like I remember those days with Meacham and Devery, where like I mean, in fact, I think the personnel grouping was called Speed 11 or Speed 12 or Speed whatever, and it was those two dudes on the field, and you knew that at any moment we could just blow the top off, right? And with Shaheed and Olave, we can blow the top off. Like there's no question. The one thing I think that we have been missing or has been an underutilized part of our offense is the ability to work the middle of the field.
Yep.
And that was something that like guys like you and Colston did so well, right? And the tight end position, right, when it was, Jimmy or that that could take the offense to another level as well. So imagine speed, ability to blow the top off, guys that can work the interior part of the field. I think that just takes our offense to another level. I just don't know who that guy is to work the middle of the field right now, and so I think that could be a role that one of these guys, if they can really become that guy, I think that really puts us on a whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Olave has the ability to get in there and do some of those things on the inside. I was really hoping that last year, like Deontay was going to be the guy. I mean, you saw a little bit of him a few years ago, getting in there and getting open and creating separation, and he's got the quickness to do it. And it just, he had some injuries and it didn't end up working out. But yeah, I'm with you. I think the middle of the field is super important. There's so much meat on the bone in there, and if you can't take advantage of that space,
Yeah.
it's gonna be really really tough. But I do love Juwan Johnson. I mean, I think that to be able to make the transition from receiver to tight end and really like not just be a guy that comes in and gets some reps, but a guy that makes a ton of plays, leads the team in touchdown receptions last year, signs an extension, so he's got his money. I mean, this is a great story and a guy that I think will continue to get better, and hopefully take some of the pressure off of whoever might be that interior receiver, that slot guy, that F receiver or Y receiver that we call him in the Saints offense. But yeah, I think the sky's the limit for that group. I think the sky's the limit for that offense, and I really think that this is going to be a really good team. There's obviously a lot of time between now and when the games are going to be started and played. But I'm looking more forward to this season than I have in the last couple of seasons, as I'm sure a lot of us are. But the last thing I've got for you is what do you honestly think is the outlook for this 2023 team?
Well, when just on paper, you'd say, man, all the pieces are in place. I think we have to, I think we have to reestablish our dominance at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Because just as from a skill position perspective on both sides, you'd say, man, it's pretty impressive. But like, can we stay healthy and can we control the line of scrimmage on offense and be able to run the football? Like I'm super impressed with our core running backs. I mean, we've got some dudes, right?
Yeah.
And so you complement that with a passing game and a front that can control the line of scrimmage. Like we should be able to do whatever we want on offense, right? Now, obviously that takes time to build that chemistry, and they're going to need to do that. Defensively, I think is the one, just up front. Again, by losing, two of our key interior guys that have been around for a long time in Shy Tuttle and Anyamata, like that's tough, and you go out and you try to shore that up with free agency in the draft. But man, we got to see how that comes together, right? And you need depth there because you got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to put pressure on the quarterback with a 4-man rush, right? Like, you got to be able to do that in order to take pressure off the back end, or else, you could have long days, right? And so, to me, that's the key. I want to see how that defensive front comes together, and are we able to, have the depth that we need? And then offensively, like, man, do we have the right pieces in place, right? Can we find the right roles for all these guys that we just talked about, and everybody embraces their role and they understand it. And, we're able to consistently go out there and score 30 plus a game. That's, time will tell, but man, the pieces are there.
Yeah, for sure. And something that, we've struggled at the last couple of years, and specifically last year, was turnover margin. I mean, I think that is going to be a huge, huge thing as far as the success of this team goes. Can we protect the football offensively, and can we take the football away defensively? I mean, I think it was, I don't know, maybe we had 3 or 4 interceptions the entire season last year, which in my mind is crazy. So being able to, obviously it starts up front, being able to get after the passer, hopefully with the 4-man rush, a 3 or 4-man rush. And if we have to add extra guys, let's do it. But we need to make sure that we're taking that football away because, like you said, we've got some explosiveness potentially on that offense. And we want to be able to have as many possessions as possible to score as many points as possible. So, man, this has been great. I appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. This is awesome. To be able to just have a conversation and answer some of the fans' questions. And is there anything that you're promoting right now? Anything that you want to get out? Or, I'll give you the time. You know what I mean? You're giving me the time. I'll give you the time. Obviously, we know that you've got your pickleball team in LA. What are they called? The what?
Mad Drops.
Mad Drops.
Mad Drops.
I need some merch. I need
we got
Mad
swag.
Drop
Actually,
shirt or something.
Yep. Hey, we're gonna launch the website here pretty soon. I'll go ahead and just throw that up on social media. But everybody, just be ready for it. Be ready for the launch of LA Mad Drops merch store, and let's build that fan base, baby. LA Mad Drops. Let's go. We're still winning championships. You know what I'm saying, Lance?
There you go.
We're not playing football anymore, but we're still winning championships.
That's right. Well, I don't have a GM title yet, so if you're looking for somebody, I am local. So
I love it. Hey, we're gonna get you out there. You know what we need to do? Me and you, and then we'll have Golden Tate because I see Golden all the time. And you're right, the guy's upset. He's obsessed with pickleball. Me and you against Golden, and let's have him grab one of his old QBs. Huh? Okay. So we go like QB receiver versus QB receiver, and we'll get the job done. We'll put a little something on it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right.
Well, shoot, man, have a great day. We appreciate the time, and looking forward to whatever you've got next beyond pickleball, and as well as a successful 2023 campaign for our Saints. Take care, everybody.
All right.